Unleashed fam, and welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to have you here, and I am back with another bang of a topic. Obviously it wouldn't be me if it wasn't uncomfortable, so we're about to get uncomfortable yet again. We're about to open ourselves up, we're about to get vulnerable, we're about to think deep, because that's what we're about, to discover our higher self, to step into our power. We need to dig deep and understand the meaning of everyday things that we say and that we do. So today, I'm talking about walking with God. And this is quite a phrase that we use in the church setting. And it becomes so spiritual. It's like people will describe it as if, hallelujah, there's this cloud that goes with me everywhere I'm going. But I'm always after the practical sense of things. If you're going to say you're walking with God or I must walk with God, you must tell me practically in my everyday life, what does that look like? And that's what I want us to talk about today. So when God created us, He created each and every one of us with a set of gifts, a set of talents. And as we grow older, because He already had a plan for us long before we were formed in our mother's wombs. He knew and He called us, and He, specifically set a destiny for us. He set the journey for us and where He wants us to go, what He wants us to achieve. Some people end up achieving those things. Some people, unfortunately, live their lives and end up dying without ever getting to what God had called them to be, for various reasons. So God has a plan for your life, and some of us know that, some of us don't. But there is a reason for why you are alive today on this earth, living in this planet, whether you're in South Africa, you're in another country, somewhere in the continent, or anywhere in the world. God has a plan for you, and there's a reason why you are alive, and you need to figure that out. And sometimes there's a daily plan, or there's a daily reminder of why you are alive on that specific day. Sometimes the little miracles or little things that you are involved in, and you realize, they give you that sense of life, and you actually feel like, okay, I am doing something, I'm meaningful to someone or to anyone in this world. So knowing that, right, as we grow older, as we mature, whether in our relationship with God, God starts revealing things slowly but surely to us. God starts showing us who He called us to be, what He has called us to do, at whatever stage we are in our lives. God starts, showing us little assignments, parts of our assignment, part of what He wants us to do. And He starts planting these dreams, these visions, whatever you want to call it. You can call it purpose, you can call it calling, you can call it vision or dream, these massive, great ideas. I believe in a great God. I believe in a magnificent God. And for me, if it doesn't scare me, then I don't think it's from God, because it has to scare me, and I have to feel like, oh my gosh, how am I going to pull that off? So some of us get to that point. God has given us all of these things, and now it's like, okay, I don't know how I'm going to pull this off, what to do now. And might I also add that the closer you walk with God, the more committed you are to your relationship with God, the more you're able to hear Him clearly, and the more you're able to download certain things from Him as time goes. Because God doesn't like overwhelming us. He hardly ever dumps everything on you, because otherwise, how would you walk dependently on Him if He dumped everything on you? You know what I mean? There's certain things, and it's not because He just wants us to always be dependent on Him, but He knows you're never going to be able to digest it. If God gave you your life plan from A to Z when you were 12 years old, you think you would be able to understand? It would probably drive you crazy. You understand? So step by step, depending on how mature you are, depending on how He can trust you as well with such information. So bringing me to the big question. What do I do now? I have this big dream, I have this big calling, I have this big vision that God has given me, planted in my heart, this desire to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have no idea how to achieve that. I have no idea what steps to take to get me there. I have no idea where to even begin, And if you're telling me, Claude, I must walk with God, what does walking with God look like? First of all, walking with God is not this over spiritual thing where people will tell you, or it sounds like they have a cloud walking around with them wherever you're going. God is with you. God is in you. God is all around you. God is omnipresent. He even says it so many times in his word that he is with you. He's walking beside you, in front of you, behind you. He's all around you. He will never leave you. But it is up to you to be aware of his presence, because God will never force himself on you. It is up to you to acknowledge his presence, and therefore you hear from him. It is not, walking with God is not just saying, okay, I'm going to wake up at 3 a.m. every morning and pray for 3 hours and then read my Bible for another 3 hours before I start my day, whatever the case may be. No. I mean, it's great to read your Bible and set time to pray and all of that, but walking with God is not limited to how many hours of prayer you set up every day, or Bible study, or watching a sermon, or things like that. Walking with God is walking aware of his presence in your life, walking while acknowledging that there is God all around you, walking with you. You understand? It's being in constant communication with God in your daily life. Like example, things like, yo Lord, I pray there's no traffic today. Yo God, yo, this day someone said this to me today at work and it didn't sit well with me. Yo, help my heart to forgive. Yo, certain things, like you communicating with God like a friend, treating him like the friend, because he said in his word, he's a friend that sticks closer than a brother. And it's acknowledging who he is and treating him as such. That is walking with God. Certain things you don't need to rabashanda and you know, go that deep and sweat while you say you're praying. But walking with God is having that open channel, always being because God is always open to you communicating with him, but are you open to him communicating with you? God is always readily available, but are you available for God to speak to you? Are you available? Are you keeping the door open for God to speak to you? Are you keeping that channel open for God to, you know, minister unto you? Are you also communicating with God every step of the way? Are you involving God in your daily life? It's not just for the certain things, you know. When I was younger, I used to joke a lot about, I mean, I would pray even over whether relationships, boyfriends, whatever the case may be, and like that's a few years ago, and some of my friends were like, nah, that's weird, how would you do that, like whatever. And I said to them, listen, God sees me, everything that I do under the sun, whether I'm doing good, I'm doing bad, things that my mother knows, things that my mother doesn't know, God knows, and he sees me all the time. So why should I hide things from him? When he says he's my friend, why should I hide things from him? Why not involve him in every part of my life? Why not involve him in every, whether it's a relationship I'm getting into, whether it's friendships I'm getting into, whether it's a university I'm applying to, whatever it is that I'm doing, why not involve him? You know, at that time, I just made logical sense. But now I realize that those were basic steps of learning to walk with God in every step of the way. Praying, or not just praying, but like talking to God about your struggles with an exam, talk to God about a subject that while you're studying and you're like, yo Lord, I'm not understanding this thing, like what is going on, you know, things like that. Talking to God casually about a friend that you're not sure how to help, or before you talk to someone and you're just like, yo God, help me be, you know, of good, let me say something that's going to be useful to the person and it's going to help them and change their hearts. And sometimes not even what we say, but it's because God goes before us before we even do anything, and he paves the way for us. You understand? That is what walking with God looks like practically in every single thing. Treat him like your friend. Treat him like you would a friend that's stuck with you, like your twin. Except your twin's not going to be with you everywhere you go. But treat him like your friend, like your shadow. It's everywhere with you. And talk to him, you know, engage with him, and be cognizant, be mindful of his presence around you. And I am telling you, it's going to blow your mind. And the reason why you need to be intentional about your walk with God is because then when God showed you this vision, he then is able to show you little steps along the way in your everyday life that you can take to bring this vision back to life. He's able to say, hey, go talk to that person about 1, 2, 3, 4. Go do this 1, 2, 3, 4. And he's able to further like download things into your heart, into your mind. He's able to drop further steps, you know, plans and all of these things into your mind. He's able to say, hey, why don't you apply for that post? Hey, do 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, do 1, 2, 3, 4. Because then he is guiding you. He is able to tell you which turns to make, which turns not to make. And sometimes when God gives us these big ideas, we automatically look around to who has done something similar before, or who has built something big, and we want to copy the action steps of that person, read about what they've done and try to copy that. But our journeys are not the same. You don't have their network. You have your own network. We take for granted where God has placed us. And sometimes God will remind you to just look around you and see where He has placed you, the people He has put around you, the information He has given you access to, the people He has given you access to that other people might not. So look around you. Look at that. And look at what God is saying about those people. And before you even, sometimes we have these ideas and we think, oh, Mama would be a great person to pitch this. Sometimes God is like, no, the person that you think you should pitch to is not. Consult God on such things. God, should I pitch to this person? What should I do? And sometimes God will give you words to say, to pitch to people, how to go about it, how to sell an idea, how to sell a concept. That is how, God works in different ways. He doesn't work in a specific formula for everybody. What worked for me or how He worked in my life might not be how God works in your life. So I want to encourage you today, Unleashed fam, go sit down. Think about, because sometimes then we, when we can't figure all these things out, it frustrates us. Things are not coming together as we want them to or as we think they should. We get frustrated. We abandon those dreams. We try and move on to the next thing, but that one's still giving me nightmares. Now I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to marry them together, and then it becomes, a frustrating exercise for you instead of being an exciting period where you are stepping out in faith, where you are, thinking out of the box, where you are trying new things, where you are doing something new, where you are giving birth to something that could potentially change the world. You know what I mean? And then we abandon those things, and then, like I said in the beginning, that some people don't ever get to walk in what God has called them to be, because then somehow they got discouraged, they gave up, and then they started doing their own things, or they just started, going about life nonchalant, just living and whatever they're trying to do, getting to the next day, getting to the next stop, and then that's that. Living mediocre, basically. Refuse to fall into that trap. What I'm saying to you today is go sit down, get a journal, right? And write down with all the ideas and crazy dreams, no matter how many they are, no matter how long they are, no matter how bizarre you think they are, that at some point you had. And I like talking about the inner child because I think that's the most purest form of us, that believed in the possibility of anything in the world, believed in brighter futures, believed they could do anything, they could achieve anything in the world. And think back to, what did you want to do as a child? What did you believe you could achieve as a child? What happened along the way that stopped you from believing you could achieve that? Was it someone that came to you and said to you, where have you ever seen anybody with your kind of background doing something like that? Or was it friends who did not believe in you? Or was it family who laughed at your ideas or things like that, and somehow you shut them out? What are those things that you threw out the window from childhood? And then as you grow, what ideas have you had that maybe failed when you tried to execute them, that you gave up on and you threw them out the window, that you actually realize that you should have never done that? What are those ideas? What are those great visions that you have had that you're no longer pursuing anymore? Write them down. Write all of them down and pray about them. Be intentional about going back. Ask God, which one must I go for? What must I do? And quite frankly, I've realized in my life that a lot of the things that I have, the crazy ideas, I abandon this one, I take this one, abandon this one. Somehow, all of them lead me to doing the same thing. All of the ideas I've possibly ever had in my life, and I'm trying this, I'm trying that, I'm give up on this, try that. All of them take me back to the same place, to the same vision. It's just God is basically trying to redirect me using the same thing. So it could be that when you look at them, you actually realize that all of them were taking you to the same direction, to the same thing. Look at them, pray over them, and ask God to guide you day by day, how we bring those ideas, how we bring those thoughts, how we bring all of those great visions to life. Because believe you me, the world is waiting to experience what is brewing in that beautiful mind of yours. Even though they don't know it, they might laugh at you today. They probably laughed at, what's that guy's name, when he started thinking about a light bulb. But look at us today, we cry about load shedding because we cannot think about our lives without a light bulb. So I want you to sit down, write those ideas, pray over them, and keep a journal. Every time God gives you something, write it down, write it down, write it down. The next step, who to approach, whatever. Be intentional about, because another thing I forgot to mention about walking with God is that God will never call you to do something if He's not gonna walk you through it. If He's never gonna call us to do anything without Him. He's never gonna call us to do anything on our own. Whenever He gives us these big ideas, whenever He gives us these big dreams, He is saying to us, Nana, I need you to be my hands and feet, but I am going to be with you. I am your source. I am everything that you ever need. You must come back to me. He gives us all these things, but He knows He's going to be with us every step of the way. All we have to do is be basically the vessels that carry this thing to life, but He is going to breathe the life into that thing. He's going to breathe the life into that dream. He's going to breathe the life into that vision. So ask Him. Be a willing vessel. Open yourself up and ask Him to breathe into it. Ask Him to lead you through it. Ask Him to do what He wants to do with it. Not your will, but His will be done. Because your mind is limited. You only think to where you are right now. You only think about what you've been exposed to. I mean, our minds are limited to the things that we've been exposed to, the things that we know. But we can never think about things that we've never been exposed to. Certain things become a light bulb moment because you see a YouTube video or a TikTok about it. But if you've never been exposed to it, you don't think about it. So our surroundings, our environments limit us. Yet we serve a limitless God. That's why He gives us dreams beyond anything we could ever think about. And sometimes He gives you just a glimpse of it and you think that's scary until you realize just how big this thing is. So submit everything unto Him. Submit everything unto Him. Lean not on your own understanding, but trust in the Lord in all your ways. Proverbs 3 verse 5. Trust in the Lord in all your ways and do not lean on your own understanding. Because God has enough grace for whatever that He has called you to do. Listen, He is there, willing and ready to hold your hand through it. As long as you're willing to remain humble, to submit to Him, and to let Him walk you through. Not your will, but let His will be done. Ladies and gentlemen, as we go about unleashing all those beautiful, whatever is bringing those beautiful minds, unleashing our higher self, the powerhouses that we are, let us remember that our Maker, our Creator, is there and He is ready to walk into those places we are. And my parting words are, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men remain silent. So refuse to be silenced with those dreams. Refuse to throw those dreams out the window. Refuse to give up on those dreams. Trust me, the world is waiting for them.